Welcome, JT, to the Wholesome Crypto podcast. Thank you so much for joining me here today.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Good to be
you're
here.
a legend, so I'm excited to have you on.
At least my mom thinks so. That's
I've heard
fine.
multiple people
That's
say
good.
that, so you're definitely not the only one. Your mom's not the only one. She raised a good person.
That's too kind.
So yeah, we know you all currently work at GridPlus, and it's definitely what I know is that it's a company that's important to you due to your previous experience in crypto security, and I can't wait to share all that with our audience. Before we get into the whole crypto side of JT, what were you doing before even ever hearing about Bitcoin or Ethereum or any of that crypto stuff?
I was an elementary school music teacher for 18 years and a professional DJ in the Kansas City area. I've been paying my taxes as a DJ as a side hustle for a good 15 years. And so I first learned about Bitcoin in 2014, and it was kind of out of protest because my wife and I are both public educators. We were raising 4 kids. I was working 2 jobs, plus I'd have a third job in the summer, and actually that I maintained that all the way up until like last summer, 2 summers ago. I've always been, I like to scrap and. Out of necessity, but also I just enjoy work. Anyway, we had a homeowner's insurance adjuster come out to our house. Oh, man. And they told us that we had to replace the roof on our home. We couldn't afford that, and we didn't understand why we had to replace it. It looked fine. It turns out, even though my wife bought it on a first-time home buyer, somebody didn't do their inspection. And so we got saddled with having to take out a second mortgage. So what I did was, the cardinal sin is that you don't put your second mortgage into crypto. But instead of hiring somebody to do all the work, I hired one guy to teach me and help me. And then I put the rest of the money into Bitcoin. Nice. And this was kind of like I needed to find something that was going to hopefully work as some kind of insane store of value thing for the road ahead. I was just tired of always owing somebody something. And working constantly, owing people, and just trying to live life and raise a family, and just it was like my hard work wasn't going far enough, and it was just kind of this. I always joke that I'm the Charlie Brown of crypto, and I'm sure through the portion of this, for the episode of this podcast, you'll plainly see why I give myself that name. So that's kind of how I got into Bitcoin.
So. I mean, that's the American dream, right? Get as much debt as possible to have as much things as possible.
Yeah, and we didn't even want much. We have a little house. I still, we're still there. It doesn't matter. Well, it's our home. And anyway, we, and then fast forward just 1 year later after doing that, or within that first year, I developed a fond love for the what do they call the shit coin roulette, right? So for the modern day people, it's kind of like the NFT craze or the ICO craze of 2017. Anyway, I got involved with a project that was being fronted by an anon developer, and that developer wound up walking away with the money. After I was doing like marketing campaigns and stuff, and we got an MMA fighter on TV in Las Vegas for the World Series of Fighting. Wow. If you look up Hyper Crypto and look at the World Series of Fighting and John Fitch, I developed a friendship with him loosely out of that deal, regardless, because he still got paid. And it was just one of those learning experiences early on that dealing with anon developers and whatnot. But anyway. I discovered Ethereum after watching the rise and rise of Bitcoin. And there was one little clip where I saw a 17 or 18-year-old Vitaly Buterin in there. And he talked for all of like 20 seconds in that movie. And my teacher side of me just noticed something about him that was like, it just rang true. And so I started kind of following what he was doing. And that's when I eventually made the leap to Ethereum.
And did you first hear about Bitcoin and Ethereum just because you're into tech, or does some friend say, hey, JT, this is the next big thing, you got to get into it?
No, it was just like everybody else. It was because an all-time high happened. And that all-time high in Bitcoin previous to when I got in was $1,200.
Yeah.
So it was like that run up, I think in 2013, late 2013, and then kind of early on in 2014 is seems like maybe even that summer is when I was like, working on the house. And I'm like, I wanted to try something different. I had never, and for the record, I have never proactively purchased a stock in my life, and I've never had a savings account. I've just checked a check, just like so many people, and then try to ride the wave of credit cards or whatever. I mean, when you're a public school educator with a bachelor's degree, and you have kids, and you decide you want to put your kids in private school that costs money. I mean, there's a lot that money has to come from somewhere, and so it went pretty quick for us. But it was our choice too. We didn't have a nice house, and we made it our, made every room it's special.
Yeah,
to us,
it's always such a problem too. Is like teachers are such a critical role in our growth as an economy, growth as in our children. Like this is a future generation. Teachers are going to be the ones who have the most influence every day on our children. We should respect them and also give them the most aid to help make sure they live a sustainable lifestyle.
Well, and not to change topics too much or go off the road too much from the conversation, but I think we need to not only pay our educators better, but the system needs to let bad educators go sooner. And that's a critical problem. But then there's systemic, cultural, and litigious problems too that really compound and make education in America very difficult. Education anywhere a difficult thing to
exactly. That's the thing now with crypto, especially. I feel like in the beginning of crypto, education was hot. Like everyone was trying to teach everyone about. I mean, I learned so much about the legal system, financial system, the monetary system, all about government amendments of how money works and like what happened in 1971, all that stuff. It's like the gold system. Like Bitcoin taught me so much more than school.
Exactly. I've learned so much about legacy markets because I'm in this space. Because this space shows what's wrong with the legacy market. So there is an amplified kind of focus on paying attention to what's happening. Everything. I've never paid more attention to politics. I've never paid more attention to investing theses, although I wouldn't say I'm the most diversified. But it's kind of like one of those deals where it's like, where do you want to go with your money when things that you've been investing in and, timing the market is not my strong suit, but being in the market has seemed to work pretty well. Anything can happen and maybe so, but I don't find myself really interested in anything else to the degree that I am with this space. And it's exciting.
Absolutely. And yeah, that's what I loved about Bitcoin and Ethereum right now. But what's for me right now is actually what's happening. I feel like the education space is starting to fall out into just trading advice and pump and dump schemes and get rich quick schemes.
Always
has been. And it seems to get more and more convoluted as it grows, and which is natural. I mean, what are you going to do? Like more people are in it, more people are get creative.
Yeah.
More people trying to make money.
Well, and every nascent technology has these types of growing pains. Whether it's trying to make music a digital thing that people want to buy, well, they're going to learn how to steal it first.
Yeah, Napster.
And once you can successfully steal it quickly, now you got an avenue where honest people want to go ahead and on board with real money. It just takes time. And that's where it's still very early.
So then you started getting into Ethereum after seeing Vitalik speak. What was going on through your head at this point? You're learning about Ethereum. Is this becoming the new thing you want to get yourself hooked into?
Yeah. This idea of smart contracts was it for me because I felt like that you could participate in certain projects that had anonymous developers and still have some level of trust if people can vet the code for the smart contracts, right? So if the code is clean and free of bugs or whatever, you could be reasonably sure that you don't always have to rely on public-facing figures, although I still prefer that. But more importantly, I remember one time looking at my Trezor and thinking, wow, I've got Bitcoin now. And just how anticlimactic it was to know that. Because the reason why I got into the hyper crypto shitcoin deal was it was a gaming currency. It had a focus on a niche being able to, be a gaming currency. Okay, so there's a buzzword from 2014, 2015, right? So everybody wanted to have these little use case tokens and stuff. And I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. With Ethereum, I felt like I have something here that I can put my money to work regardless of the market volatility. It's exciting. And now look at where we are, just 6-7 years later. And the second thing, let me back up. The second thing that impressed me was the smart contracts thing. The first thing that I was excited about was being a green thinking token, a proof of stake. The proof of stake thing in my mind was where it was at. And part of it was because that hyper crypto coin that I was working with was a proof of stake mechanism. I can't tell you, it's still probably SHA-256 running off of a CPU, but in my mind, it was better than owning an ASIC miner, which is basically a useless piece of equipment after its life, right? So, and then I started looking at, I remember there was a ASIC mining farm, I believe in the Philippines or in Panama, that had burned to the ground.
Oh, wow.
And I remember looking at this warehouse that was totally just melted into nothing. And just what a sad waste of land that was at that point. It's toxic. Whatever was in there is gone into the groundwater, what have you. We don't even know what they're doing with these ASIC machines, when they're done. I mean,
that's a good.
Are they really recycling these things, or do they just get thrown
away? That's a good
away?
business idea.
Okay, so that was my biggest fear was this technology is going to be unsustainable if it always depends on having more and more material mined out of the earth to do this proof of work thing at a tremendous waste of electricity. And I still can't believe the mental gymnastics that I read on Twitter about how, the brownouts are good in these countries because it's going to force us to greenovate our energy production. And in my mind, it's just how, there's just people that want to wake up and make some toast in the morning and turn on a light without the neighborhood power plant having to be sucked dry from, I don't know. Maybe that's just kind of getting into the weeds of shock journalism.
Yeah, I mean, the one good thing about proof of work, I would say, is the force of trying to find renewable energy or funding more solar power energy or hydro energy or wind energy. It's it's using a lot of electricity. It's very wasteful to use that much. But if the whole idea of the game is to try to find the cheapest source of electricity, and
I get it, but at the end of the day, it's still forcing the manufacturing of more ASIC machines,
which is a waste,
that really don't need to be produced, number one. And number two, they're not going into the hands of Bob and Alice. They're going in the hands of the big players who already have a bunch of centralized contracts with these manufacturers who can get to market with their hash power before anyone else can. I mean, it's just it's like 3-card Monty. When's the last time a person solo mined a Bitcoin? You know what I mean?
I mean, that's what I'm excited for with Ethereum too, with their proof of stake and platforms like Rocket Pool and Stakewise, where you can work together and pool your minimum amount of Ethereum, like 1 ETH or 0.1 ETH, into a pool and start staking in a decentralized manner.
Yeah,
which is great.
And I don't want to crap on Grandma too much. So I mean, I think I'm preaching to the choir here about my thoughts on that. And that's where, and my headspace has been that way since 2015.
So where has your journey taken you since 2015, and you're getting into crypto. It's still new to you. Obviously, you had a tough time with the hyper coin, but that wasn't the only.
It wasn't even so much tough on me. I was cutting my teeth in kind of having fun with marketing and stuff like that. I lost some money, but I just kind of felt let down that the developer just ghosted everybody. Where did I go from there? Very early, probably in 2015, I was one of the first, I would guess, 300 or 400 people on ETH on Reddit. So ETH was my home for a very long time. Mr. Yukon C was a legend on there who helped me and my brother do mining. We did mining, and I know I'm going to sound like a total hypocrite here, but hear me out.
I'm listening.
We did 10 laundry baskets with like 5 graphics cards in them, held up by like dowel rods going through the holes in the laundry basket. Gosh. So my accountant for my DJ business, I was like, I need some money. I need your money. And my brother's like the IT guy, right? And I'm just the idea guy. I said, we're going to mine this thing called Ethereum. And so we did that for for about a year before it started getting too difficult. What did we do with the hardware? I sold it for pretty cheap to a couple of people that were good at rebuilding computers. So they got the motherboard, they got the RAM, they got the power supply, they got all those graphics cards. And I mean, we were able to get all those parts that were still fully functional right back out on the market at a time when GPUs were kind of hard to find. So yeah, it was basically like, recycling what helped us in our mining journey. And then anyway, so back to ETH. So Mr. Yukon C, I'm indebted to him forever for really helping us out. But there was so many good people on Reddit. The problem was it was Reddit, and sometimes it felt like a Poloniex troll box or like a 4chan, back room or something.
Yeah.
And so I stepped up and asked, hey, we would like to get on the moderating team if at all possible. And we were on the moderating team for Mr. Yukon C and myself, and a handful of others were on the moderating team for ETH probably all the way, I'm guessing, through it would have been 2018. And then there was just a bit of a falling out. We didn't want to do community points on Reddit with the donuts experiment that the Reddit Red Hats were instituting along with the lead moderator. And we just kind of had a difference of opinion. Then we broke off and started EthFinance. And EthFinance, I think it's August 18th of 2018 is our birthday. And we're a smaller crypto community, but I liken it to be, it's very high signal, low noise. A lot of very smart people in there. We have the appropriate amount of shit posting. The moderating team, like we've established a culture in there that's pretty sweet because we like to have people talk to each other as if they're actually in the same room with each other. And what I always do is try to get people just think in those terms and then type what you need to say. And, you'll get a more appropriate response. And so as a result, we don't really have a super heavy-handed ban action on our subreddit because the culture's been established and the community has helped maintain that culture. Reddit, as far as crypto goes, it's a busy place to try to do like a long form discussion. Yeah. And so a lot of people went off to Twitter, but we've had some people come back to EthFinance but the reality is EthFinance, we've done a pretty good job of trying to reach out to like different conferences. We have a calendar of events. We want to, all this is it's a utility for the ecosystem. It's just one more touchstone that people can come to. Like our daily thread at the top has the dates. It has the hyperlinks to all the upcoming events. We try to stay on top of that.
That's amazing.
And we have a massive list of links that we put together that we kind of curate like a bonsai tree over time. It's just kind of a labor of love, always has been. Moderators we constantly get DMs, people wanting to pay us for placement and all that other stuff. We don't do it. We give it all away for free.
Wow. And when did you start your career in crypto? Were you still a teacher at this time?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So with Grid, I I'm friends with my boss before they
Mm-hmm.
approached me, and it's funny because I helped him kind of get into Ethereum back in like 2016 when he was still like an accountant for like State Street Bank, and somehow stumbled into E-Trader and had a question about what the hell they're talking about at State Street Bank, and then Mr. Yukon C and myself got some internal documents and we looked at
Mm-hmm.
them. And we're like, yeah, State Street Bank is going to try to join the EEA or something. It was something
Yeah.
like that. And so we were just like, that's pretty cool. Because for your listeners that may not know, I think State Street Bank has like $2 trillion plus in assets under their
Wow.
custody or they control or whatever. They're big time.
Yeah.
So anyway, fast forward, I had mentioned in a private channel I was interested in looking at getting out of teaching, which I really love
Mm-hmm.
teaching. Uh, I was a good music teacher, man. And I'm telling you, and I'm bragging about it because we rocked the freaking music concerts. We made it enjoyable for the parents and grandparents. I had fun doing it. It was just time to try to
Yeah.
do new
Maybe you can teach me
things.
guitar because I'm learning how to play guitar now.
Nope, trombone
Chet
only,
Long.
man. That's it. So anyway, Justin goes, you're looking to get out of teaching? He's like, we'll hire you right now.
Wow.
And I'm like, I can't leave. It's in the middle of a pandemic and it's January,
Yeah.
right? So they put me on part-time doing video editing and creating videos for like
Yeah.
tutorials for GridPlus, and I had a very small amount of ability to do that prior, but I said yes to
Of
the
course.
job, and then I spent the next 5 months working part-time, like researching everything I could. Like I almost had to shut off Reddit for a little bit so I could focus on teaching myself these new things I was
Mm-hmm.
getting ready to do. And I still teach myself every
Yeah.
day. And so July 1st of this last year was when I went officially full time. So yeah, July 1st, 2021.
Congrats. Yeah. And I
Yeah.
had Justin on the show. So if anyone wants to know Justin's side of the story, so it's both sides of the coin, listen to that one.
Yeah. Thank you for the job, bro.
So
I'm having the time of my life because I get to do like I
it's awesome.
love editing. I've had some success with audio editing in the past. I used to run a 7-piece rock band, and we opened up for Blood, Sweat, and Tears and the Urge and Gin Blossom. So I knew my way around like how to manipulate
Yeah.
audio, but then manipulating video was the real treat. And I love coming to work every single day. I work my butt off, and these guys do too in this company. It's like getting the band back together in my
So
mind.
awesome. I love that for you, man. I
Yeah,
love that for you.
it's very fulfilling, man. And I always hope to hear other people's stories like that too. I mean, the real world is a grind, but if you keep a positive attitude and if you put in a little extra time every day, you can really go do things you didn't think you'd be capable of.
Exactly.
I mean, not every person pivots a career after 18 years. A lot of times, especially in education, those teachers get kind of settled into the routine. They know exactly what September teaching is like. In October, they have their plan. They're looking at their
Spice it up,
pension,
man. You
and
gotta
they're
spice
looking
it
at
up.
not me, man. I was trying to do Reddit, Ethereum, and teaching at the same time, and then DJing on weekends and odd jobs in the summer. So now I've like no more odd jobs. I'm just Grid, and I'm still teaching. It's
Yeah.
just I'm not dealing with 5-year-olds. I'm dealing with degens who are no
Probably
different.
worse.
they're no different. I love them all too, man. I just love it. I mean, when like like, oh gosh, when you get some of these crazy usernames coming in and asking for help, and their avatar is like a porcupine hitting a bong, and they need help with setting up their wallet. It's like, sure, I'm your guy. Let's go.
Well, I know GridPlus has a special because I know that from your past you've had some issues with, like having security issues with storing your tokens of crypto. And GridPlus is a hardware wallet. For anyone who doesn't know, awesome product. Definitely try to get your hands on one. But can you explain a little bit to why GridPlus hits a little bit home to you?
Whew. All right. Put seatbelts on, kids. So in 2016 or so, I had SMS two-factor authentication on my Kraken account. And it was actually the mining account where I had my investor and I had my brother. So that's like 3 people depending on that money. And the hacker got my phone SIM swapped. They used the SMS to bypass the two-factor authentication protocol to get in. They compromised all my email accounts. And what they did was they changed the password on Kraken, if I'm not mistaken, and then I couldn't even get in to do the global lock thing. And so they drained it for 41 Ether. So in today's dollars, you do the math, and that it's like
$120,000
was just
or something.
That was just the start, because the same hacker or group of people that were hacking sold a Bitcoin Talk account of mine. The Bitcoin Talk account that I had very high merit. It was a senior level. It was a desirable account to have if you want to do an announcement for an ICO. That announcement was my Bitcoin Talk account was sold to a guy, and I'm going to name him because I don't give a shit. His name is Ken Sangong, and he ran an ICO illegally called Open Platform. They raised approximately $18 million plus. They were using my Bitcoin Talk account as part of their marketing campaign.
Wow.
And I even got in touch with a team member who accidentally revealed himself to me on Reddit as being part of the team and said, wow, it's really nice of you to sell us your I can't believe I'm talking to the real JT. It was so nice of you for you to sell Open Platform your Bitcoin Talk account for our marketing purposes. I said, I didn't sell you that. What are you talking about? And I tried to log in, and sure enough, it was compromised. I said, give it back. Give it back. That's not yours. It was stolen from me by a hacker. And I showed that team everything they need to know. Anyway, so then in order to try to keep myself from getting raked over the coals by the SEC or whatever, like, hey, they're going to trace back JT Nichol to this idiot in Kansas somewhere, I went ahead and got lawyered up. I took the money. I paid the lawyer. We contacted California Business Oversight. We got a hold of the React Task Force team, issued a letter to the CFTC and the SEC to go after them. And then that ICO went poof. And then the owner is somewhere not in the United States, most likely, because if he was, I can't imagine that there's not some kind of warrant out for his arrest. It's crap to be hacked. It's double crap to be kicked. It's like a mugger beats a victim, and then another mugger comes to take the wallet and kicks him again, even though they knew full well they were using my stuff. And so that was like, enough is enough.
Ridiculous.
Then 2 years later, so that's all kind of water under the bridge now. As you can tell, I'm really over it. And so let's see, 2 years ago, my phone got SIM swapped again. I'm gonna give a little bit of a bit of knowledge for your listeners.
Please.
If you are trusting that SIM pin that you type in to unlock your account for the agent for any one of the telcos, the little 7 to 8 digit pin that they give you, it's crap. It can be compromised, and I know it can, because the second time I got SIM swapped, I had that pin lock on my account at AT&T. It got phone ported over to T-Mobile. Okay. I was in the store at AT&T, and all the lady at the store had to do was call the T-Mobile Global Fraud Department. And she said, hi, my name is so-and-so. My badge number is these 5 digits that are right here on my badge, and I'm at this store number. and we have a gentleman here who's been SIM swapped or blah, blah, blah. T-Mobile overrode the SIM lock that was placed on my number on their side and stole it back from the hacker and gave it back to me. We SIM swapped the SIM swapper in real time through social engineering.
Oh my gosh.
Just do the right thing and don't use your phone under any circumstances for anything two-factor. And fortunately, even though they SIM swapped me, no funds were lost. Why? Because I'm using hardware two-factor USB everywhere I can. And if I can't, I use some kind of Google authentication. I use, you should all try to do some kind of, password manager, 2FA on the password manager, unique passwords on everything, and then change them all the time. It's the only hope that we have in this greasy industry to have a prayer of surviving. Because your telecommunication companies with these little magic phones they sell you and make you believe that their little pin that you assign is uncompromisable, it's just a lie.
Yeah.
And that's just a fact. So anyway, full circle, I couldn't be in a better place working for a hardware security manufacturer, which I think is the best the planet has seen to this day. I mean, everybody has their own method of doing things. This one is great for a lot of reasons, and I don't want to shield the product too much. But when you have a 5-inch touchscreen that you can actually see smart contract data, actually put in custom address tags, actually load things you expect to see. So even if your computer's compromised, the final thing is what you see on that screen. It's heads and tails above the rest.
I've also been SIM swapped a while ago, a couple years ago. Thankfully, they didn't get. I don't know if I even had a Coinbase account at that time or anything like that. But thankfully, they didn't get into any of my finances. They just tried to take hold of my email. But I had that sinking feeling of I don't have control over my accounts or identity. That's terrifying. And
it is terrifying. And the sooner you kind of wrap your head around how little you actually have control over. I mean, let's not even get our tinfoil hats going about
we're not gonna
what we think is secure. You think the telcos are bad, just wait till the 3-letter agencies whip out their toolbox.
Oh man, that's why crypto is gonna save the day, hopefully.
It'll be
so now that you're heavy in this industry for a while, it's 24/7 industry. You can't turn off crypto, and it's hard to turn it off in your brain. But with 4 kids, a family, living a life, what do you do outside of crypto? How do you live, or kind of distress, or
I make up for it by cooking for my wife.
Nice. I love cooking too.
Cook. I like cooking. I know this sounds so dang cliche, but I do find ways to tune it off, tune it out, I should say, and go on a walk or go exercise. Exercise is number one. Am I out there every day? No, but I do get out there because it just totally clears your mind and lets you just not be plugged into anything for a second.
Yeah.
I've also had to learn how to self-regulate. It can be complicated. Let me put it this way. My wife is not crypto native, and she will never be crypto native. And so that's one of those things where it's like I have to have kind of a balance of not talking about Ethereum for once, or what's going on. It's something she just doesn't have any interest in. And so that's good too, right? Because it forces me to get out of my bubble for a minute and get in hers. And so, but cooking is also very cathartic. I'm big into barbecue. I always joke that you're all invited to my house for a barbecue sometime. That was the meme on ETHTrader when we had less than 500 people. We were actually thinking about maybe seeing if we could get a dozen people together.
That'd be awesome.
It was now it's just insane. It would end up being some kind of Woodstock barbecue fest, and I would be busy.
I would love it.
But yeah, I do cook out on a fire pit. I have a 4 foot by 4 foot steel grate fire pit that I built with a big stone structure or, block rock or whatever. And then it's suspended from a tree and I can raise and lower it. And I used to post videos on Reddit of me just sitting by the fire pit. And sometimes I'd be cooking while I'm talking about nothing into the camera.
That's so funny. I love that. It's like the personality of who you're working with. And that's what I love about this show. It's like, I want to know the personality of JT.
If you cruise my YouTube channel, Jeremiah Nichol, and you go back to like 2015, 16, 17, when I was really kind of doing videos on the regular. And you could see some of the ones where I'm just out there by the fire pit, cracking a beer and chilling out. Cause that's the kind of guy I am, Not everybody could be an Austin Griffith, with the boop, 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 and like building stuff. Some of us just got to kind of try to relate the best we can and bring it down to earth.
And I mean, that's the thing too, like you're saying, I'm just so heavily into crypto all day. And when I'm out with like friends who are into crypto, it's kind of like, oh yeah, there's other topics in the world other than crypto. It's hard not to talk about crypto because you can relate any topic into crypto or blockchain. It's just like, oh yeah, let's be more like philosophical or something, or just something completely different of a subject.
Going to watch the kids play sports, that's another thing. You're right. I mean, that's the deal with this rabbit hole is I've seen it eat people up for good. Like I've seen people, that's something we've dealt with. We've kind of skipped talking about the dark side of this space, which are these tremendous bear markets. I have seen people get brutalized to the point of attempted suicide. Wow. And that's no joke. And in fact, on ETH Trader and on EthFinance, we put our foot down. We don't let people like post the suicide hotline because sometimes that is being used for manipulating people. Because there are people who FOMO in with that second mortgage money, like I did, but they don't have the mettle or the nerve, or I've seen people blow their entire student loan on it, thinking they were going to be able to flip it by Christmas time or something. And now they're fucked out of, pardon my French, you may want to edit that. And now they're like screwed up from being able to, continue their college education. And to kind of walk a 21-year-old back from the edge a little bit, I've done that before.
That's hard.
I've been in direct messages with people in the past. Like I said, we foster this place of like talk to each other like you're in the same room. And the other quote I have is you always make your best friends in the bottom of a bear market. The bottom of the bear market is kind of where you find the people that are kind of those true believers, and especially those builders who just are heads down. They just want to make cool stuff on this protocol, and the price is kind of almost secondary.
Exactly.
And so you kind of just got to encourage people where you can to stay with it, because if you put technology first and price second, you're a whole lot happier. Whole lot happier. That's why Bitcoin just sucks. That's why that is nothing. I see the premise of it. I get the narrative of it. It's just not for me.
That's fair. And I totally agree when you're saying that you meet your friends at the bottom of the bear market. It's because all the people who truly believe in the tech, that's when they're all chatting, talking, building, developing. And then when a bull market comes, that project skyrockets because of all the work that was happening for 3 years during a bear market. And I think that's something that people don't realize is like, these crypto projects that pop up aren't just popping up. They've been in development for a while. Some do just pop up out of nowhere and kind of like say, hey, invest here and you're going to make 300% your return in a month. But please don't fall for that.
The DeFi farming.
Yeah.
I remember when yams started being all the rage in the daily, I'm like, oh, here we go. This is yams. Okay. We're farming yams now. And what is farming? Farming, right? Yep. And now people are like, it's grown so much to where it's just incredible how people are dovetailing these things together, just like money Legos. That phrase that's going to last for an eternity. How they're able to snap in and do all these things. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it might be short-lived, some of these experiments, but they're doing stuff. And not to pivot too much, but like when when I hear like Janet Yellen and, you know, Ginsburg and all these people up at the top of the ivory tower trying to regulate this stuff, and they're using terminology that's over 100 years old. It's like, wake up, man. You cannot apply legacy regulation to what's being built right now. It's just incredible. Yeah. Like, but it sounds silly if you go in front of Congress and you're like, but these bored apes are like, they're like parking their radishes into this fish farm that's in this metaverse thing, and they're making an incredible yield, and that's going to help pay taxes to the IRS. And then when you ask those same people to account for their taxes, they can't do it because the terminology doesn't work.
So complex, especially in the crypto world, because you're trading so many different ways. And it's like, I don't know how to tell you this, but this coin made this coin happen where it yielded this coin and then this token and this. I'm like,
You just see some poor bastard with a scroll that goes to the desk at the IRS and unfurls it to this like this blockchain ledger that like rolls down the hallway. It's like, you figure it out.
Yeah, for real. Like, here it is. You figure it out. You tell me how much I owe you. I don't want to get arrested for messing up accidentally.
It's like, I'll be in for $12,000. If you think it's more than that, you let me know.
So knowing all that, I'd like to ask, what is your crypto pet peeve?
My crypto pet peeve, I think, Bitcoin maxis on Twitter get really, it just is irritating that they're relevant. And I know that it's not all real. It's not because of click farms, but the impression feels that it's real. And I mean, and all they got to do is point their monkey finger at the chart and say, price go up. See, I told you so. And it's like, that's at some point that pet peeve is going to have a day of reckoning. And it's just par for the course for any brand new technology that the first mover doesn't always have the advantage 30 years later. Mm-hmm. Even though it's written in code, I mean, I maybe I'm going to be wrong. There's nothing that gets me excited about it.
That's fair.
At all.
Yeah.
And the pet peeve is the click farms will dogpile on any dissenting view, and always have from the earliest days. It was the third reason that Ethereum interested me, was because of the community and the temperament of the community. And the temperament of expectations, and that, yes, we're going to do this. It's going to take a long time. Sometimes I wish the Ethereum people would have a little more spine early on. But at the same time, we're still waiting for proof of stake, and that takes time. And so good on the developers for sticking through it, and the community for sticking through it, and we're already yielding those dividends. But that was the biggest reason I left Bitcoin, beyond the proof of work mechanism, beyond the price go up, was just the community was super toxic. Mm-hmm. I mean, all the way back to like the way Thanos on Reddit was banning people left and right that had any kind of dissenting view about block size debate. I'm like, first of all, that's not how you run a subreddit.
Yeah, you can't just ban everyone out.
Like, just ban everybody. And then, Bitcoin talk just got noisy too. That's probably my biggest pet peeve. It's just the general Bitcoin maxi viewpoint. Mm-hmm. And that's not a definition for everybody that's into Bitcoin by any stretch. Yeah. It's really not. It's technology. You can't really hate the technology. The technology is just, that's the law. It's just some of the people that ride on that high horse in that community just kill me.
Exactly. Yeah. And I hate when I see that on Ethereum sometimes too. Most of it is not. The culture is pretty damn good. That's what I like about it a lot too. But once in a while, I see some people just being an ETH maxi just as bad as they are a Bitcoin maxi. And I'm like, man, don't bring that in here.
Don't become the thing you hate.
I
think that's a Darth Vader quote. I don't know.
And he's got a good point. You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't become the thing you hate. Oh man. But yeah, now that you're been in this space for a while, and did you ever think this would be your career path, crypto? Since you were mining it, was it? I know it was pretty natural growth for you, but
it was it was very seamless. It was absurdly seamless. It was kind of like I waited probably 2 or 3 years longer than I should have. First of all, I don't like flying. Second of all, I was teaching at a school that was surrounded on 2 sides by cows. I'm not necessarily well connected into an urban sprawl. I say Kansas City very loosely, just because it might be a place on a map somebody could point to. But my life has always been small town. And, it was actually several years before I finally met the first person off of Reddit in real life. And it was pretty cool, like pretty surreal. And it kind of made that connection. And then I think fast forward to knowing that the time was right was when the pandemic struck. This is interesting for me personally anyway. When the pandemic came, all the music concerts were shut down. Everything was shut down. We were forced to stay in our little holes and keep to ourselves and just listen to the government. And that's fine. We didn't know what we were dealing with. So I'm like, well, we're trapped inside the school. The parents can't come in. I mean, the parents couldn't even bring in cupcakes, let alone let the kids pass them out. Okay? It was that bad for a lot of schools. And I could go on and on. Anyway, I was asked by a fundraiser that I DJ every year if I could help them live stream it. And I said, sure, but I need a camera. And so I got my first camera and I got my lens. And then I'm like, I need to teach myself how to use this thing because the live stream's coming up in February and it's now September. So what did I do? I started making music videos with the kids at school, playing the instruments, sharing that out to the parents. They loved it. It was perfect. Then the Chiefs went to the Super Bowl. So we did the song that was kind of the anthem. And it was a good enough video that it got airplay on 6 television stations, including Nashville and Atlanta or something. Yeah. And it was if the Chiefs had only won, I would have been on the Today Show for my 5 minutes. Right. Anyway. So then the GridPlus thing kind of came along and I was like, yeah, I can make videos for you. And so after all of that, it was a pretty seamless transition because I had already spent the school year, honing my skills making music videos. And then I got the job offer in January and I knew I could do it. And I knew that it was going to work because I had 6 months to make it happen. And in the process, I was making little things here and there. And our CEO and our CTO and Justin, our COO, they were all very honest about if it was crappy or not, or if I needed to revise things. And I needed that. I needed that direction because I wanted to make sure that I was able to execute what they were wanting to get done. And my whole premise was also to make sure you do it in a timely manner. And I think the first video that I produced, the title said version 18. Oh. And we never used it. And looking back, it was not the video to use. There were days where I'm like, I got to get this right because I know it doesn't look right either, but I can't, I needed to try to figure out because part of it was I can be too much of a cut up. I can joke too much. And we needed to do technical videos, JT, not fire pit, drink a beer video, So and there was this kind of this push and pull. But the side benefit of having the video equipment was for this reason here where we can live stream. And so I actually have a second camera set up back here. And so for our customers, I'll sit on the Hangout on Discord and live stream a high definition shot of the lattice that I have here and kind of help coach people. And, not all of our users are crypto native. Some of them, we've had several of them that their first foray into crypto was buying NFTs. And then they might purchase a lattice, but they've never made a wallet before because they're sitting in 6 figures of NFTs sitting in their phone or whatever.
That's insane.
And we have so we have to teach them what a seed phrase is. And we have to teach them about derivation paths. And if you're coming, into this for the first time, the money does funny things to people, and it's great. it's such a blessing when people hit a jackpot. But your first car shouldn't be like maybe a Lamborghini or some high-end exotic thing. Not that our device is that, but I'm saying you got to open up the manual to the world of crypto and learn some basics too. And that's what we do, is we kind of teach people from the beginning if they need it with a, Wikipedia and everything like that. And I love talking to newcomers because, I mean, as a person, I'm actually a grandpa too, by the way.
Oh.
So I have a lot of people that are my age and older that are wondering, well, I bought crypto on, what was it, Venmo? Or PayPal,
or Robinhood. Yeah,
should I get a wallet? And I'm like, well, I don't think you can withdraw from those yet. What you need to do is so just taking people by the hand and then, self-custody, some things, maybe some things you want to leave on an exchange. Maybe you want to spread yourself out across different things, So it's just nice to just hang out with people on Discord and talk about anything they want to know. I'm there.
And I've been on that Discord channel with you live, just chatting and working at the same time, so it was a lot of fun. I definitely recommend people to do that too with you.
Yeah, sometimes I'll just be in there video editing. You don't have to say anything, and I'll just be listening to music. If you want to just have a little hangout spot, that's what I do.
It's awesome. One of my final questions I like to ask is, what is your favorite wholesome crypto moment?
Well, when you've got Justin Leroux, who's my boss at GridPlus, but then you have the almighty Paul Brody on there from EY.
Yep.
I mean, Paul Brody and I became fast friends, and I'm so glad that you got a chance to talk to him.
Me too. He was great.
He is great, and for the reason I think is he has been the biggest champion of enterprise use of public mainnet Ethereum in the enterprise world. The dude is helping to connect so many important legacy institutions onto the public mainnet and get out of this, siloed walled garden version of blockchain that so many companies were trying to embrace in the past. And I've just it's been such a privilege to know him. And you want to talk about such an unlikely duo, right? Like Ivy League, Princeton, head of blockchain for EY that did $100 million in revenue last year. All I did was I reached out to him and I said, hey, EthFinance, if you need any help with your EY summits, let us know. And that's what we've done. We do that for any conference. Paul Brody took that bull by the horns and said, you're on. It's like just the most unlikely of friends. Here we have this Ivy League brainiac from Princeton. And I don't know if you ever talked about his parents, but they're incredibly smart people too. Juxtaposed with this kid that grew up in small towns in Kansas. But what brought us together was this unintended benefit of the pandemic. Everybody's on lockdown. EY is wanting to do their global blockchain conference, but they can't do it in person. And then Paul reached out and said, hey, do you think you could help us virtually? I'm like, well, sure. Yeah, let's do it. If you're going to do a virtual event, we need to get the information out to the people. I mean, he's such like I said, he's a real staunch, person when it comes to supporting the public mainnet, which is right into the thesis of what we're all into. And so we hosted the event on Reddit and with a lot of questions, we helped host, I should say. And I remember Paul, I asked him after it was done, I said, Paul, what is the most people usually have in person? He said about 300. I said, how did you do on your live stream? He goes, we had over 12,000 streams in various formats around the world or whatever. And it was just one of those moments where it was like, wow, that's really something. Anyway, the following year, the conferences were back in person. And Paul he flew me and my wife to New York on the 20th anniversary of 9/11. And it was just the most incredible thing because I don't like flying. And I got over it in that moment. And I knew that was going to help me do things with Grid and get over my fears of I guess being in big metropolitan areas and getting up in the air and flying around. It's just been a treasure. So I just want to thank you for having me on. You have a really good podcast, and I hope it's been entertaining for your guests, and I'll continue to listen to them. And thanks so much for having me on. And I also was going to mention, if people want to find me on Reddit, user JT Nichol, Nichol, and at ProDJKC on Twitter. And you can always find me on the GridPlus Discord at gridplus.io. You don't have to be an owner. You could just come and hang out if you just want to, shoot the bull with me and chit chat about crypto or anything that's on your mind, or if you got questions, happy to help you out. So thanks again, my man, for having me on. You guys be good. Cheers. Big hugs from Kansas City.
Thank you so much, JT, for being on this show. It was a pleasure, and I just can't wait to see you keep doing what you're doing. Good night, everyone.